Nana, say Happy New Year. Good girl. Hey guys, it's me again, Joe, your Bisaya reader. Welcome to another video, and for today, this is going to be a very special video because if you've seen the title, in this video I'm going to show you the best books that I've read for the year 2020. But before we dive right into those books, I would like to greet you guys a happy new year, and I wish you all the best for 2021, and thank you also so much for all your support for the past year. I really appreciate it. I'm really grateful for all of you guys who watch my videos on this channel, and I do hope that in the year 2021 we'll still be there together and you'll continue to support my channel. I am very excited to share to you the 10 best books that I've read for the past year. It was really difficult for me. It was really hard for me to narrow down the list for the 10 best books, because for the year 2020 I have read 52 books, and out of these 52 books I read a lot of 5-star read books, and most of the books I've read deserves to be in top 10. But yeah, I have to choose 10 best ones, and it was not really easy. And before we proceed, also, I know you have some ideas of some of the books that will be on the list, because if you've been following my channel and if you saw the video that I posted several months ago, which is the 10 best books I've read so far in 2020, there will be some books on that video that will still be here. And upon checking on the final list before I'm going to present to you, I just realized that 5 books on that video will be in this video, and there will be 5 new ones. So these 5 new ones are the 5 books that I've read for the last part of 2020. So yeah, so much of the introduction. Let's just dive right into it. Going to start with the 10 best book I've read this year. And this is going to be an adult contemporary or literary fiction. It's a winner of the Pulitzer Prize 2017, and I know that not all of you guys who have read this one love this book, but I personally did love it. And this is going to be Less by Andrew Sean Greer. Less is a book about our main character. It's very character driven. We're following our main character, Arthur Less. He's an old gay single guy, and he is living his life all by himself. It talks about how a member of an LGBTQ community growing old all by himself tackles loneliness, tackles anxiety and pressure of having a special person at the last days of your life. He's about to turn 50 years old, and he still can't get over with his ex, which is probably 25 years younger than him. And he just received an invitation from his ex for his ex wedding, and he was very anxious. So as part of preparation for the said wedding, he placed himself into a journey of traveling around the earth by accepting some invitations to talk in conference, because Les is a writer, and yeah, he's been accepting some invitations for literary prizes or award ceremonies or some speech talks. And yeah, it's one of his way to prepare himself for his ex wedding. And he also traveled to be inspired to write his new book. It's really deep, and it's not for everyone. That's why I see some of those people who've read this and reviewed this did not like this because they have some expectations that were not met. If you're expecting that this book is going to make you really, really laugh so hard, I suggest you need to lessen the expectation because the humor in this one is not for everyone. There's humor, but it might be not funny for you, it might be funny for others. So yeah, just expect less from this one, just what the title said. Less, expect less, and enjoy more and learn more. And Arthur Less is a gem of a character. I really love this one, and yeah, it made it to the top 10 of the best books I read in 2020. The ninth place, and this ninth best book I've read in the year 2020 is going to be an adult high fantasy. It's a debut novel and the first book of an epic series, and this is going to be Evan Winter's The Rage of Dragons. I have read this earlier this year and I loved it. I know that there's a lot of hype for this one, so I read this, or I dive into this with a lot of reservations because I don't want to be disappointed, but I ended up really loving it, especially in the last part of the book. It was really fast paced. The first part of this book, like the first chapters, started with a bang, but there were a little bit problems with the pacing, but it was able to redeem itself towards the end, and I was really satisfied. The magic system was something new to me and something really interesting. That's what I really love. The set of characters were a solid set of characters, a lot of personalities, even though there were some issues with the main character. It's either you love him or you hate him, but it just really added flavor to the entire story. But overall, the magic system, the things that happened in this book, and the pacing of the story was really outstanding, and that's why it made it to my ninth best book that I've read this year. I can't wait to read the second book of the series. I'm still waiting for the paperback edition because I know as of this moment it's only the hardcover edition that is being published. So I'll just have to wait for the Fires of Vengeance paperback edition. And yep, grab it and read it as soon as possible. One of my recent reads, I probably read is one on December or November. I forgot. I think it was on November. And this is going to be an adult science fiction. And this is a winner of the 2020 Hugo Award. I am a big fan of Hugo Awards because of N.K. Jemisin's Bruckner trilogy. I've been following the Hugo Award winners, and this one is the latest winner of the Hugo Awards. A Memory Called Empire by Arcady Martin. This one is not for everyone, again, but it is definitely for me. This is very character driven. It's a science fiction, and as I dive into this one, I thought that it's going to be a plot driven. There were a lot of plots, of course, plot twist, but the character driven aspect of the book was just really the one that stood out over the plot driven aspect. And the one thing that I really love about this book are the characters. The characters were perfect, and the writing style was complicated in a good way. You're going to notice the writing style if you haven't read this one, if you're going to dive into this. The first chapters are going to give you headache because the writing style are complex. For example, the name of the characters are not as simple like Joel. The name of the characters is a combination of a number and a non-living thing that exists on the world of the book, like for example 19 seagrass, and these numbers represents the status of this character in the society, or whether he or she is on the medical field or on the army. There's a lot of representations, and your number on your name and the object on your second name just really speaks a lot about who you are as a person in the world set by the author. The world building in this one was superb. The pacing was okay, but again, overall, what I really love about this one are the characters. The characters' development, how flawed they were, they were able to achieve their motivations was really were really outstanding. And yeah, I can't really wait to read the second book because I just heard that this is going to be a series, and I just saw the cover of the second book, and I can't really wait to pick that one up. This one really deserves the hype and the Hugo Award 2028. And I know it's not for everyone, because if you're expecting that there's going to be a lot of space battles or like the spaceship battles like Star Wars, um, none of those things happen in this one. It's just really character driven on a space station. So if you are looking for something like uh, an empire, a Mayan empire, like a historic empire, like Egyptian empire, thousands of years ago, but set in outer space, you need to pick this one up because it's really political, and yeah, it's really mind blowing, especially the ending. Now we're down to the seventh best book that I've read in 2020, and this is going to be another adult high fantasy, and the first book of the series, and just the first book I've read this year, on 2020 rather, and that will be Joe Abercrombie's A Little Hatred. This is the very first book I've read in 2020, and I got this as a gift last year from Marlo. And A Little Hatred deserves all the hype. I know if you haven't heard about this one, and or if you did hear about how great this book is, all of those things or great things that you've heard about this book are true. It's really remarkable. This is the first grimdark fantasy that I've read, or yeah, I've read, or maybe I'm aware that this is a grimdark fantasy. And also the first book I've read from Joe Abercrombie. His writing style was really unique and something that I haven't encountered before. What I really love about this book is not the story, even though the story was above average. But what I really love about this book are, there's two, the set of characters that were superb. Like the set of characters, some characters here are going to make you angry, make you cry, make you happy. You're going to find some characters here that you're going to root for until the last page of the book. And also the world building, and the world building here is perfect. Like, this is probably the book that I've read this year with a perfect world building. It's just really atmospheric and cinematic, and it kind of reminds me of the Game of Thrones atmosphere, less the dragons and less a little bit of fantasy, because I was kind of first disappointed about this one, knowing that I was really expecting that there would be a lot of magic, but after reading it, there's actually less magic. There's just like 2% of the entire book that has the magic element to it. It's more on the evolution of the industrial era from this simple laid back era, and yeah, it's a battle of machines and magic, and it's really political also. You need to check this one out. I already ordered the second book of the series, A Trouble with Peace. The spine is blue, from Amazon last Cyber Monday sale, and I'm still waiting for it to arrive here in the Philippines. It's already in the Philippines, but it's not still delivered in our doorstep. So Aramex, come on, give it to me. But yeah, deserves the hype, and seventh best book I've read this year. We're down to the sixth book that I've best read in 2020, and this is going to be another adult fantasy, and the first book of the series, and first of James Islington and his debut novel, and this is going to be The Shadow of What Was Lost. I got this I read this one on a large paperback, the one I bought for myself on my birthday last May, but I already sold that one because I changed it to this one. This is the book that Gary gave me as a Christmas gift a couple of weeks ago. Thank you so much again, Gary, for this. And yeah, this one took me by surprise. Like, I don't really expect a lot from this book because I just dived into this knowing less. Just knowing that this is a fantasy book, that it resembles a lot from X-Men. So I'm a big fan of X-Men when I was a child, so we're like, okay, I'm kind of bored, I don't know what to read, so I'm in the mood of reading a fantasy. And I have a lot of some friends on Instagram that decided to do a bad read for this. So we did, and surprisingly, I got obsessed of how great this book is. The best thing that I really love about this one is the pacing and the writing style. James Allington really wrote this book perfectly, I think, almost perfect when it comes to writing style, because from first page to the last page, it just really wants the reader to know more about the story. It's just a page turner, and you have a lot of questions from this book, but then when you receive the answers to those questions, newer questions will arise and bigger questions will happen again, or you'll just be really exhausted in a good way. The set of characters here feels like more of young adult characters, but it's still in whole context of talking about the story, the world, and the things that happen. It's definitely a fantasy book, and the magic system was also mind blowing and gave me a lot of headaches in a good way. It was really a challenging read, and yeah, it challenged me, and I was really happy it did because I just really enjoyed it. Yeah, it made it to the sixth best book I've read this year. Now we're down to the top five. The fifth best book I read this year is going to be a finalist of Goodreads 2020 Best Fiction Awards, and it did not win, but it was on the finals. I voted for it because it was the only book I've read that made it to the final list. And this is going to be an adult contemporary fiction, and this is Anne Napolitano's Dear Edward. Dear Edward, Dear Edward. This book kind of disappointed me at first because I thought this is going to make me cry. I picked this one up because I was looking for a book that is going to make me really emotional, a tear jerker. Is it even a term? I don't know. Just correct me if I'm wrong. But you know what I mean. I picked this one up because I want to cry. I want to be really emotional. I want to really be sad. But this one is not a really sad book. This one will not make you cry. But this book is going to be one of the most inspiring books that you're going to read if you're going to pick this on 2021, if you haven't read this one yet. The main reason why I love this book is because of the main character, Edward. Edward is a guy, the only sole survivor of a plane crash. He was on the plane going to LA. His entire family, together with his entire family, his mom, his dad, his older brother, and a lot of people. And he was the only sole survivor. All of those people on the plane, including the pilots, and including the pilots, died on the crash. And here Edward became an instant celebrity on social media because he was deemed as the boy who lived, just like Harry Potter. He got a lot of fame by just surviving a plane crash. He was adopted by his aunt, who is been trying to have a child with her husband for years now but failed. So yeah, in this book we're mainly following Edward in his journey towards grief. The exploration of grief here is really realistic, especially if you've been on the journey of grief. You're going to be able to empathize to the the main character here, Edward. This one is really good because Edward is that character that will stay in your heart, in your mind, or probably will make it in your list as one of the best fictional character that you've read in your entire life, because he is the kindest, too good to be true, but the kindest character I have met or I have read on the books ever. Edward have a lot of reasons to hate the world after losing his mom, his dad, his older brother, after losing some of his friends that he met on the plane. He has a lot of reasons to be angry about the world, to end his life, to give up, but he chose not to. Instead of doing those things, he chose to be kind. He chose to be happy. He chose to be the kindest person you're going to meet, and I was really inspired. This book really opened a lot of realizations that I never thought I'll be able to appreciate in my life. And yeah, I learned a lot from this book, and until now, I'm still really, really happy that I've picked this one up and I've read this one. So, yep, pick this and read this, and you'll definitely really, really love Edward. Now we're down to the fourth best books I've read this year, and I am going to tell you, I think this is not going to be a shocker, because if you're following me on my Instagram, on my Twitter, or on Facebook, if you're friends on Facebook, I know that you've been seeing me posting and praising how great this book is, and this is another adult high fantasy by James Islington. And this is the second book of The Shadow of What Was Lost. This is the continuation of that book that I showed to you. The sex. Here we go again. Sex. Sixth best book I've read this year, and now the second book of the series or the trilogy made it to the fourth best book I've read this year. This book is 10 times better than The Shadow Was Lost. It was more challenging. If Shadow Was Lost was challenging on around level 8, this one is level 100. It gave me a lot of headaches. It gave me a lot of questions that are not really, that can't be easily answered. But it was kind of an experience that stuck to me and made me want more from the world, from the story. And I was just really surprised that I just finished the book in just like 4 days. This one just blew my mind, like not literally, of course, because I'm still alive, but it was really outstanding. Of course, I'm really, really careful about the things that I'm going to say about this one, because since this is the second book and I don't want to spoil you. But if I'm going to compare this to The Shadow of What Was Lost, An Echo of Things to Come is more challenging than this one. An Echo of Things to Come made the world and the story from The Shadow That Was Lost 20 times bigger, and it made the story more complicated, but it also answered a lot of questions that was not answered on the first book. It gave a lot of opportunities for character developments, and it introduced also to new set of characters that were also great. And lastly, the character development and the story development was like out of this world, something that I did not really expect, and I was really all in on this one, and I can't really wait to read The Light of All Things to Come. The Light of All That Falls. But I promised Raph that I'll wait for him. We're going to bloody read the finale of the trilogy this March, on March 2021. So yeah, that's the fourth best book I've read this year. Now we're down to the top 3, and the third best book I've read this year is the only young adult book on the list, and that is going to be a young adult contemporary. And the characters were really superb. This is a story about 3 young adults. One is Judy, whose uncle is a patient who is dying from HIV/AIDS. We have Judy's friend, which is, I forgot his name. Art. Yeah, Judy's best friend, which is Art, which is an open gay, and he is looking up to Judy's uncle, and they are part of this Act Up movement, which breaks the stigma, because in this story is set in New York way back in 1980s. People are really discriminating gay or the LGBT community because of said HIV or AIDS. disease, and they even started tagging or initially calling HIV as a gay immunodeficiency virus instead of an acquired immunodeficiency virus, because they thought or they think that HIV is a curse from God, one way of God. You know, it's a way of God cursing the LGBT community because being gay is not on the Bible and it's a mortal sin. So it's one way of God killing these LGBTQ members. And we have the last main character, which is Reza, which is an immigrant. He's from um, Palestine and he moved to New York with his family. So he's also this outcast in the school and the society because he's suffering from racism. And he met Judy and Art, and he was initially in love with Judy, and then he developed some feelings with Art. So it was a really messed up relationship with these three characters, but again, I don't want to spoil you. It was written really, really well. The lessons that this book was able to present to the table was really special. So you need to read this one, and you'll know how great this book is. You'll eventually experience what I just experienced when I read this. I guess you have an idea now of what this book is, because if you've watched the previous video, the one that I told you, the best books I've read so far this year, a couple of months ago, this one made it to the first spot. And this is an adult historical fiction by Delia Owens, and this is her debut novel, Where the Crawdads Sing. This one, well, I can't really stop praising how great this book is. I dive into this book with a lot of expectations because I've heard a lot of good things from the people I follow on social media, that this book is just out there, and all of those things that I've heard are true. This is a historical fiction with great pacing. The main reason why it has great pacing because of the mystery thriller element that was injected by the Delia Owens. We're following our main character Kaya. She is living all by herself by the age of 10 on marshland because her mother, older sister, older brother, and eventually her dad abandoned her on their house, and she was left with no choice but to live all by herself. On the marsh, she learned all by herself how to read, how to write, and how to feed herself. She lives with the birds. She lives with the animals in the marsh, and she was tagged by the community as the marsh girl. And there's a thing here that's happened in the book that there's a guy that was murdered, and our main character was the main suspect. The marsh girl was a suspect. And the mystery thriller aspect of this book is that we're really trying to know who killed this guy. Is it really our main character, or she was really framed? What are the motivations of the killer, and how does it, ties up to the entire story, and how does it really affect our main character? And it was mind-blowing. It was really emotional, and this book really taught me a lot of lessons. It was also really atmospheric. The marshland is something that I can see myself relaxing one day. Like, I can sit there, and of course without mosquitoes, I'll just bring mosquito repellent, sit there and appreciate how beautiful the marsh is, listen to the birds singing in the background, and watching these birds eating fish, or just be surrounded by nature. This is what I felt while I was reading the book. And also, Kaya, the main character, is one of the best characters I have encountered on all the books I've read in my entire life. She's on par with Dear Edward from Dear Edward, with Sazed from Miss Bird Trilogy, and Evelyn Hugo from The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. They were just these characters that will stick into your heart for the rest of your lives, and Kaya is one of them. Now, thank you so much for sticking and for reaching this part of the video. This is going to be the part where I'm going to tell you the best book that I've read in 2020, like the best of the best, like the first spot. one of my most recent read. This is an adult science fiction, and I was really blown away. And I was really surprised how great this book is. And I was really surprised that not a lot of people have been talking about this book. And this is going to be The Sea of Rust by C. Robert Cargill. I got this book from Book Outlet. I just picked this because I love the cover, and I checked the average ratings on Goodreads was really great. So without knowing what the synopsis is, I just picked this. And when it arrived here in the Philippines, and I was looking for something that is really short, even though this one is not short, I don't know why I consider this one that time short. Something that is just really fast paced, and something that is science fiction, because I picked this after reading A Memory Called Emperor. So I want more science fiction vibes. So I saw, oh, there's Head of a Robot, so probably this very science fiction, and it was. Sea of Rust is a story of our main character, which is Brittle. She is a robot in the wasteland, which is called the Sea of Rust. This is a story set thousands of years in the future. It's a post-apocalyptic story in where humans are now extinct, and the only things or non-living things, even animals, doesn't exist anymore. There's no more living things on Earth. The only non-living things that are moving that was left on Earth are robots, which was also man-made. It's a war of AIs, or artificial intelligence, and our main character is having none of these war. Brittle decided to be not part of these AI wars. So she was living all by herself in the Sea of Rust, scavenging for parts to extend her lifespan, because the model of her robot is, the production already stopped when the humans died. So all she did is just to scavenge for parts like the battery, some, I don't know, there's a lot of parts. Like, I don't really know much about robots, but yeah, she was there to really survive, and she was really caught in this war between AIs. And what I really love about this book is the fact that even though all of the characters here are non-humans, or not humans, but this is the most humane books I've read in my entire life. It was really philosophical. It was a speculative fiction that made me question a lot of things. I know it's really deep, but I want to keep it that way so that I'm not going to spoil you. It's about a robot asking for what on earth is she here for, and what's the point of looking for parts and living if she does not have any more purpose to live. It's kinda depressing, kinda dark, but at the same time there's this action-packed, fast-paced element to it that also makes you want more or read more. But at the back of your brain, there is still this emotion that's coming from our main character and all other characters, questioning their existence and what's the purpose of living. Even though, for example, some robots here were designed to serve humans, and now the humans are gone, they're still living there, they're still in the earth, and they don't know what to do. And yeah, it's going to question a lot of your morals, a lot of your beliefs, and it's something that is an experience that will make you think a lot of things. Let's just put it that way. I don't worry to spoil it to you guys, but if you're going to pick this one up, I know you're going to realize, because the first two chapters, you're just going to find yourself speechless, because I can still remember what happened in the first two chapters. Was really mind-blowing. It was just the first two chapters. It already blew my mind, so it wanted me to read more. And yeah, the more I read about this one, the more I love it. I annotated it with a lot of emotions, like emotion stickers or annotations with emotions, like crying. I was just crying on page 15, imagine. And then I was really mind blown on page 21st. I was speechless on, or crying again on page 64. And yep, there's a lot of things that are happening here that is going to be really memorable and will just really make you say that this book is really, really great. For example, on page 15, this is not a spoiler, but it is an example to make you appreciate the writing style of the author. Like most dying robots do, people gave us a purpose, a function, something to do all day, every day. At the end, I suppose he spent a lot of time thinking about that. It's harder to get by when getting by is all there is. So it's like trying to question yourself, why am I still breathing? At the same time, what's the purpose of living? And yeah, it's just really difficult. Oh, Nona's here. I think that's the sign that I need to stop talking about this book. But yeah, Sea of Rust, best book I've read in 2020. And yeah, hi, Nana. Say Happy New Year. Good girl. Thank you so much, you guys. My name is Joel, Bisaya reader, and I am again really, really grateful for all your support to my channel in the year 2020, and I can't wait to see you all guys on 2021 and the years to come. Take care, keep safe, and wishing you all the best. Bye bye.